Hi, it's Yana the Heretic. I'm on here today to broaden the spectrum of relationships, and I think it's I just had this really strong pull to talk about it and to talk about what it is I do specifically and the lens that I have really am looking through here. I'm in Washington. A lot of people have interpretations of what people are like in Seattle and Washington, and like anywhere else, it's vast. It's something that you have to experience. It's groups and groups of people that you have to really accumulate data on. You can't really just paste a label on anything or anyone, because you'd really let all of the richness of it slip through your fingers without getting a full spectrum, a full emotional, spiritual, or just real depiction of anything, unless you really experience it, right? I find that I've been here for 6 years, and I moved from I moved from California, and it is weird. It's weird times, If you watch any of my other videos, potentially more of us are getting down to the nitty-gritty of politics, and specifically politics around people taking up more space. Allow yourself to have more room for who you are authentically. And I find that it's a little odd, especially in the world right now, where people are taking up political space, but they're not taking up more internal space for connections. So when you go into relationships and the maturity within relationships, you have to kind of know like how they work. You have to be walking through certain arguments, certain inconsistencies, certain disabilities within yourself, because you have a very high temperament, especially when you're just learning how to be in a relationship, and you tend to get angry at people, and you kind of just accumulate all this information from everything else rather than how you internally feel. So you'll find yourself saying things that people always say around you. And it's not really carving your own way. It's not really carving new language into the ether. You're not coming from a fully personal source, but you're coming from the outside view, accumulated view on something and someone. If you're a messy person, that means you're automatically lazy. If you're not reliable, you don't come through with all of your promises, you're this type of person, you're a fucking asshole, like, whatever it is, you start to develop these like heavy encapsulated assumptions about people without really learning more about them. Because what happens is you begin to be closed off, you begin to shield yourself. There's a lot of shielding, there's a lot of political shielding that I'm seeing in the world, And generally, as the person that I am and what I wish to do is to broaden the spectrum of language, really just open up the way that you speak, and using your own words. There's a ton of people, you go through a bad relationship, and I've definitely been there, where you'll all of a sudden, get fed all of these like quotes and memes, and things online that somebody else wrote, and it's like, oh, this is depicting how I feel in my soul, like, and then you're posting all these really uncomfortable quotes, and you're just like regurgitating things that, yes, could be very true, and you're happy to know that somebody feels the way that you feel, and they have written about it. But then it also, like, you never go into who these people are that wrote it. There's just quotes. They're anonymous, right? So it's like you're taking somebody else's words and making it like your own spell that you're casting upon your own mind, your own neural pathways. Like, oh, this is ultimately making this person a manipulative person. This is ultimately like, oh, I got it, you're bipolar, or oh, I got it, like, you've got like mental, you're autistic, or whatever it is. It's really not allowing you to open up, what's underlying there. And I'm not speaking for everyone. I know that I don't have all of the answers, but I speak from the knowledge that I have learned through my own personal experience, as well as teaching, being an educator on relationships and human design. And I'm not going to get all heady with it. I'm going to get very personal with it, where, myself, looking at myself specifically, I have what's called the channel of transitoriness. And it is the Don Juan. It is the Don Juan of people, the type that goes from one thing to another very quickly. And what I am seeking is the richness, the knowledge, the zenith, or, the ultimate, like, experience, or essence of something. But since my mechanical process is wanting me to shift, wanting me to change, whether that's environment, relationship, everything. Like, I have this craving, this desire to change everything, because, oh, all of a sudden this isn't working anymore, Transformation is a huge, it plays a huge significance in who I am as a person. And I understand how sacred the transforming process is. Change is extremely important. Although, what the downside looks like is I am fleeting, I'm going from one place to another. I'm a chameleon in life, that's the first tattoo I ever got, was a chameleon. I'm like, okay, I'm a shapeshifter, this is super cool. But the reality is like, if I'm going through experience one after another, I am a jack of all trades, sure, but I don't really get the full mastery, For the longest time, you can look at your astrology, you can look at whatever, you can accumulate data of how you are living and what's natural and organic to you. But when people say know thyself, it's more so, okay, now I can see that this is natural about me. This is something that organically plays out because I'm mechanically wired that way. And the process of know thyself is more so, let's look at this so that we can then transform it. That is what I consider relationship alchemy. And I find that it's suffering, the world is suffering. There's no flexibility or adaptation, and I can say that for myself. That's how I have been. And there's various moments in my life where I want to jump to the next location, to the next state, to the next place. And yes, my life would be amazing. It's detachment. It's, it's rock and roll, but in all reality, there was a lot of hollowness. There was a lot of insecurity that was happening because I'm not allowing myself to dwell, to ferment in the experiences and the wisdom of being in one place, of attempting to work with people, attempting to, form a community, that fully understands me, and like to be able to sit down and absorb, to ask more questions, to be inviting or be invited, and speaking about this one little fragment about myself, this one channel, I understand that it's important for me to speak on this because I see a ton of my friends, a ton of the people that I truly care about. They're really sitting and dwelling and festering in the process. They're more fixed in it. They may not have this channel. Where I'm coming from it, transforming, let's bring stillness to my chart. Let's bring more groundedness so that I can be fully enriched by what is mastering something, mastering a skill. I could never play guitar, I could never play drums or be a musician or really call myself that because there's this insecurity there that I'm not, I'm not going to be arrogant and be like, yeah, I know how to play all those scales, or I'm extremely fast drummer. Like, fuck no. Like, I have to still take on many, many years of study, of practice, of muscle memory to get there. But on the other aspect, there's people that are staying in relationships, those people that are suffering in their relationships, and it could be very many reasons. And it looks like just instability, the real inability to move forward, whether it's financially or emotionally, or, you feel that the love is present and it's always there and it's overwhelming. And you can't imagine your life without this person. So obviously there's a third perspective, right? There's a third perspective, which I mentioned earlier, which is what is feeding your logic? Are you allowing whatever to come in and stay there? Is that really like a part of what you're supposed to do? There's a lot of people that are meant to have their thoughts go in one ear and out the other. It would be nice if that happened with actual gossip and bullshit instead of like logic, right? So if we didn't allow these memes, these glorified relationship like scripts that somebody else wrote, or depictions, or labels then you wouldn't have this stickiness in your logic, you know? It wouldn't just be this, oh, I understand that you're a manipulative person now, and that's it. And I've written that in the stars, you know? It's more so that we're not sitting in there and we're not absorbing what we can use as our language to therefore understand somebody else deeply. You know, with the process of really opening up relationships with a map, just being able to see what is mechanically functioning in you, and to be like, okay, you know, this part really works with me. This part I really love about myself, and I'm so happy with that. And this part, it's subject to be able to transform, you know? And every single relationship is going to have different, I would say, gauges, you know? You gotta gauge yourself, just like a bike, you know? You going up a hill, you turn down the gauge, you know? So it's easier, you know, unless you want to suffer, right? How much do you want to suffer going up that hill? How much is that affecting your health? How much is that, you know, really taking it all out of you to the point where you don't want to wake up in the morning? You don't want to look at yourself at all. You can't look at yourself in the mirror. You can't see anything that's worth living for. So you're just day in and day out just doing the same rhythm, just, you know, really taking on somebody else's words and making it truth. It gets really heavy, you know. I've been there before, for sure, where, you know, maybe somebody said something once even, and you just take it upon yourself and you start to believe it, and you start to, you know, fester with it. There's a difference between festering and fermenting, you know. Fermenting is something that is going to be a true skill, whereas festering is like ripping it up. Like, I get this, like, you know, image in my head of somebody just like going through these tissues and just like ripping them, you know. It is separation. Separation is meant for the things that shouldn't stay in your body. It didn't belong there in the first place, and therefore it shouldn't be there, you know? Like, in health, that would be like the tumors, you know? Like, you want to separate those, you want to dissolve those, you want to just release and flush your system out. That's what's meant to really fester. All the things that you thought about yourself. You know, that the stuff that's weighing you down, the stuff that you're insecure about deeply, you know, you're just like trying to hold it, you know. It's easy to see these shields. It's a confirmation for you. To get back to the ground level of what I wish to really say is that there is better language to understand people. Allow yourself to choose a different way of saying what you're trying to say. You're still allowed to take up space in the world. You're allowed to take up, you know, I feel hurt about this, and I would like to talk about it. You know? It's harder for people to do that. Way harder. You know, especially if you're non-emotional, you desire to, what's it called? just float on the I wouldn't say it's false frequency, but it is false if you force it, right? If you're trying to force you being okay, what happens? You know, you try to force yourself to not be like sexually active, you know, or because of the right and wrong thing, you know, it gets really uncomfortable because then it just builds. It just, the resentment, or, you know, we see that play out in various ways. Allow yourself to take up room to really open up conversations that are uncomfortable, because assumptions suck. You know, resentment sucks. This deep, dwelling, internal hatred, really, that's the seed of hatred right there for you. And then realize which conversations will never happen. You know, if you are trying to open up your emotions and your feelings and just express why it is the way that it is for you, not as a victim. Now, there is a difference. There's some people that, yet again, need to open up and not fear what has happened to them in the past. But if you really have something you really want to say, and you want to say it once, and you just want to be like, yeah, like, you understand me, thank you. Like, that's really what is the beautiful aspect of relationships, when somebody's willing to hear you out and you can go on your way, you know? Like, it either works or it deeply doesn't, you know? And then you can really kind of build a foundation from there. You're like, well, this is always going to trip me up. You know, if we don't talk about it, this is going to be more and more painful for me. It's going to start scarring my insides. It's going to fucking tear me apart eventually, because this person is not willing to understand me. It's not willing to hear me. Then the words come out. The bitch, the asshole, the manipulative, blah, blah, blah. Like, some people deserve that for sure, you know. But if we get away from those labels and really try to, like, be more flexible instead of fixed, it could bring us to a new place within ourselves, like an understanding where it's like, oh, okay, I can direct myself elsewhere, because truly, if I project myself into the future, I don't think that that's going to work for me, you know. I am shocked that people can be in relationships when they don't have the same belief system or morality, you know, where some people, you know, I've potentially been, you know, attempting relationships that were open, but realistically that never worked for me. I wanted to have a stable relationship with one person, because when I was polyamorous, I couldn't really look at my partner being with somebody else. I tried for 8 years, you know. It was a long time, but I realized that, oh shit, you know, my personal mechanics, like who I am as a person, like, I don't want to share, because when I tried, I would just drink myself into oblivion, or I would, you know, disassociate, because it was easier. It was chaotic, you know, and you know, the things you learn about yourself throughout years and years of self-awareness and self-study, you start to really understand. And I desire for people to take up space. I desire for people to really take up detailed space. And not have to hide, who they are. Not have to feel like there's one aspect of you that, isn't open. And that you're, just like starting to throw F-bombs, and separating your whole entire life. And it's extremely painful for everyone involved, for the people that pick up the pieces, in all spectrums. I honor the people that try. I really do. I honor those people that sit in relationships and they choose love. They choose that person every day. If you're that person, you need to see what is mechanically tripping you up. There are many ways to have self-awareness, and human design is extremely important for that. It allows you to be flexible. It allows you to see what's truly underlying within you, the things that are unconscious, the things that are underground that you're not even aware of. I was that romantic, human that, oh, well, this is the universe, and it's giving me this person, and it's like the only person in the world that I'm gonna feel this way about. And then it doesn't end up working, and it's like, oh shit, you get tripped up again. You're like, holy fuck, like, I believed so hard that this was the magic that I deserved, the magic of the universe upon me that's like granting me this person, my soulmate or whatever, Perhaps, but the reality is, when it doesn't work, somebody gives up. What do? Do you keep believing that streamline? Do you keep believing that, oh, I had that one chance for love? I had that one chance for parenting, whatever it may be, and I fucked it up, and, no one's ever gonna be the same, no one's ever gonna understand me the same, and then you give up on yourself, you give up showing up, to work, you give up, so many things. You become bitter, you become angry, you become frustrated, you have this disillusionment where you very much believe that perhaps you're a bad person and you're not deserving because your PTSD or the way that you are is unlovable. That, oh, so many other people are emotionally distant or unavailable. There's so many ways to really view the recipe, right? That's why it's hard for me to really get to the bottom of the problem, but you have to learn individually. Like, the things that are true for me are not going to be true for anybody else. I can voice what I have learned for myself, but I can't tell you what you are and how you should walk the earth. The only thing that can is really being, just looking at the makeup of your mechanisms. Are you being heard? Do you feel like you're not being heard? Are your emotions pinning you down? Are your thoughts full of doubt? This isn't just something that's showing you, oh, you're super good at this, and you're great. This is showing you the things that are capable of being transformed. It's extremely uncomfortable. And it takes time to really decondition your body and your cellular network to the things that other people have put upon you. And really just like allowing it to just go away, Like, it's not this one size fits all situation. You could be extremely way more romantic in your own way if you developed your own language, you developed your own words. If you chose to really separate yourself from the things that aren't going to work, from communities that you're just not successful in, it's better because it gives you to really birth your own and really like shine as yourself, instead of just trying over and over again and starting to build this like, well, other people would like if I did this. Other people would like if I had this like way to sell something, But are you selling it? What are you selling it for? Like, what is the purpose of pretending? We get all of these fucking ads that are the same. And it's the same type of like functionality. It's like, oh, well, subscribe. And I don't know. It's extremely uncomfortable. It's just the same face almost. The same energy in like a multiplicity of thousands. You owe it to yourself to really branch out and bloom as yourself and be the person that you really are. And take up space, not politically out there somewhere, but like internally, to not be reactive, but to be really unshakable as a person. To not let this insecurity develop disease and illness. And not get lost for an eternity. Because all of the bitterness and frustration and anger starts to build and harden and calcify, and that's when things get nuclear. So this is my message of the day. I hope that you know thyself, and if you need some help to look at what is the underground mechanisms of yourself and others that you care about, that you want to work out the kinks to develop a language, I'm here for you. I can help you at the very messenger stages, the keynoting the archetypes, and then you're on your way. It's your own personal path. I'm not gonna, compress my views. It's here's the knowledge. This is what the mechanics look like. And now you can develop your own personal data. It's all in your hands. It's sovereign as fuck. And I just wish to open those doors, allow you to peer through them, and really just develop your own view. And I think we owe it to ourselves to do that, especially because shit's crazy, you know? And there is no room for just this blind ignorance. It's more so being able to see, like, holy shit, this is what the nation's built on, you know? Let's, like, transform this whole entire history, you know? It's our time to fucking make it, like, amazing, you know? Make it creative, make it passionate, make it full of imagination and wonder and excitement. We have to look at the ugly. We have to look at, you know, the shit that has not been working, because we don't want it to stay. We don't want it to stick and create disease, not just in ourselves, but in everybody around us, every single person that we look at. It's hollow, bumping around like logs in the water. Just don't know. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. Don't do that. If you made it through this entire message, thank you so much. I am here for you. Book an appointment if you wish to look at your mechanics. My website is going to be in the description. And I really appreciate you. From the root, you know. I will see you guys later.